Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to this. This is Mock Draft 5.0. I'm pretty excited about it. This will be the second one of this week that I've done. This time it was a community mock. It was our second community mock. We got guys from the Facebook group. So first of all, first and foremost, if you're not in the Facebook group, please join the Facebook group. That's where everything goes down. If you want to be a part of the mock draft, don't tell me in the comments. Don't even email me or Twitter message me or anything like that. Just go straight to the Facebook group. That's where we get it all figured out. Once again, it was chaotic as always. We're still trying to get it figured out. The biggest need, we need more people. You got to get involved. Just jump in, grab your team, and we're going to have fun doing it. It's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a lot of fun. So Facebook group link is in the description. My Twitter's up on the screen. My email's on the screen. And as far as donations, like I've said before, I have a lot of really big plans for this group. I actually have a series of goals that are, some of them are production, and those production goals are going to be based on income, which right now there is zero. So once again, if you really enjoy this and if you want to see this grow, especially as the draft season kind of comes into focus. I know it's still football season right now, so who really cares? This is just kind of messing around. But once the season ends, I would really like to be kind of like at 2.0. And then as we get closer to the draft, I want this thing to be officially official. So first goal, 100 subscribers. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Second goal, 10,000 views, which I think we should be able to get to by the end of this week, unless these two videos I post absolutely bomb. And then would be the production goals. So, again, if you appreciate what we're doing here and you'd like to see it grow, and if you'd like to be a part of it, please, if you can give anything, in the description there is a place to donate. I know there's Patreon is the cool way to do it, but they ask you at the end, what kind of stuff do you want to give? And it's like, I don't want to give extra because I'm content with what we're doing, and I don't want to hold back things and then offer it if you pay me, because that's kind of a pay for play. If you want to talk to me, if you want to, a 30-minute chat with me. It's like, I don't know, man. If you want to chat with me, just go to the Facebook group. We'll talk. I don't care. And I got people messaging me directly on Facebook. So I want to be as accessible as I can. I don't want to go that route. I'm going to fight it as hard as I can for now. So what will help me to not do the pay-for-play Patreon thing is, once again, if you appreciate it, if you can give a little bit, link is in the description. Anything and everything helps. It will go immediately back into the channel. I promise you, none of this is going to my vacation fund, which doesn't exist because I'm poor. All right, moving on. First up, we have the Cleveland Browns, and the GM for the Browns is my man Jules, who wants to be referred to as his Twitter handle, which is Justigs3, Justiggs3. Check him out. Now that I've done that, I will be referring to him as Jules, because I don't want to say Justigs all the time. But Jules went ahead and picked Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. His rationale: take the best player available, build around the run game. You've got Gordon and Coleman on the outside, so the teams still have to respect the pass. In other words, start building, keep building these these offensive weapons that you already have. First of all, if you're going to critique it, I guess what you could probably say is that with Duke Johnson, it's not the greatest pick. Duke Johnson is clearly a third down back, so you're going to have to get another running back. Isaiah Crowell is not cutting it. But with a guy like Saquon Barkley, you don't need a Duke Johnson. So what do you do with him? I mean, why do you even bother bringing him on the team? So now you've kind of created this little bit of a conflict. But that said, you can't really fault any team for taking Saquon Barkley if we are going to assume that he is as good as everyone says he is. I have yet to come around to that fully, but clearly people saying he's one of the best in the draft, and if that is the reality, if he is this good, I mean, if he's heads and tails above Ezekiel Elliott and Leonard Fournette and all these guys, he's way, way better, then yeah, you got to at least consider it. Whether it's your top need or not, you take the best player available, like Jules said, so I don't hate on it at all. Next up for the Giants, we have Greg, and Greg picked Lamar Jackson, quarterback, out of Louisville. Now with Greg, we had a little bit of a different situation. His schedule didn't quite work with ours, so he just gave me his big board for each of his teams that he was picking for, and I went ahead and made the picks for it. So it's kind of like he was my scout, and I was the GM, I guess you could say. But once again, we've got Lamar Jackson going to the Giants. It's becoming a consistent theme, but I will say this. I've been working with a guy. We're setting up some stuff, looking to do a little prospect preview type stuff. And he is also convinced, and I've said that I don't think he falls out of the first. He's convinced that he's like a fifth-round talent. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we're going to start to see Lamar Jackson fall, but for now, Lamar Jackson of the Giants is just a consistently running theme here, and I don't particularly hate it. I think it makes sense for several reasons, but eventually that'll change. Next up, we have the 49ers, but the 49ers are going to receive a very sweet deal from the New York Jets, and their GM is Joey Cologne. He's got a guy that he loves that's fallen way too far. How can you fall too far at 3, I guess? But bottom line is, he wants him, he needs him, and he's going to go up and get him. He has the Jets selecting quarterback out of USC, Sam Darnold. His contention is if the Jets are picking maybe 6th or better, he'll sit tight and pick, best player available. But when you're this far out, you got to pull the trigger. You got to find a willing trade partner, move up, and get a guy like Sam Darnold. He found his trade partner. He's got his quarterback. We talked about this in my last video, but the Jets have a decent quarterback, but the dude's basically 40. And when you have a 40-year-old journeyman as your quarterback, I understand that's not your biggest need, but you got to replace him. If we're going to be serious about this, if we're actually going to, we're not talking about being just a little bit better, maybe trying to be, make sure that we're consistently an 8-8 team. If we're really going to go out and become a Super Bowl caliber championship team, if we're really serious about doing that, why mess around, right? McCown is not a Super Bowl quarterback, and everybody knows that. He's playing better than everyone expects. He's playing mediocre football. He's better than half of these terrible quarterbacks that are out there right now, but he's not good enough. So I'm all on board with it. They gave up a pretty hefty price tag. The Jets have 2 second-round picks. They gave up both of those and a third and a 2019 third, so that's going to hurt. But once again, it all starts around the quarterback. One other note, there are a lot of rumors that Sam Darnold will not be coming into the draft. I've also heard that it's possible he's avoiding the Browns. I don't know if any of that's true. But as of right now, we're going to stick with Sam Darnold being on the board because I don't think anything has come out officially yet. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos, and their GM is Tyler. Tyler picks Josh Rosen, quarterback out of UCLA. Pretty similar thing here. He's saying, they got inconsistent quarterback play. He's saying the quarterbacks that they have just aren't going to cut it, and Josh Rosen is an elite quarterback one, and I agree. I think as of right now, personally, I'm a Baker Mayfield guy, but with all the off-the-field stuff, I have no problem having Josh Rosen at the top of your big board. He's a phenomenal quarterback. If he falls into your lap at 4, and you're the Denver Broncos, and the biggest need you have as a quarterback, this is the absolute best-case scenario. Also, 3 quarterbacks already off the board. I was messing around before when I had 8 quarterbacks going in the first round, and I'm telling you, as we're doing this draft, I'm watching it thinking it's scary how similar this is to the last draft and how potentially realistic it is. As I watch some of the quarterbacks play, and I'll talk about this more, I'm becoming less and less of a fan, and I'm thinking some of these guys are not going to be first-round guys, but I do love the idea of potentially having just this crazy quarterback run and having some of that talent fall down to the later teams. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who I was picking for, and I did do a lot of the picking. Again, get into the group because we need more guys drafting. A lot of the teams that didn't have GMs, I just jumped in and picked for, but my pick for them was safety out of Alabama, Minkah Fitzpatrick. My thought on Minkah, and again, I don't know that this is true, but as everyone is saying, he is one of the very rare true sideline-to-sideline safeties. He supposedly has very elite speed, and these guys are very rare to find, like the Earl Thomas types. Not calling him Earl Thomas, but when you find one, you got to get one. The safety for the Colts is nowhere near the biggest need. I understand that. You're an idiot. We need offensive linemen, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But what I'm telling you is that this guy is a game changer. If he is what he's built up to be, he's a game changer, similar to Saquon Barkley. I don't care if it's your biggest need. You cannot pass a guy like this up. Again, just think Earl Thomas. Every time you get upset about one of these picks, or this pick in particular, think Earl Thomas and think, would you be upset to pass up some, guy that's an offensive tackle that's valued at around 12 that you would rather reach for Earl Thomas? I don't think so. Again, not calling him Earl Thomas, but just think in that manner. Guys of this caliber are so rare to find even in the draft. If one falls into your lap, you take him. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears, and picking for them is Chris. And Chris takes Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. He didn't leave me any feedback, so I had to go back into the comments and just try to figure some stuff out. And the only thing I could really find is that he wanted to trade back with the Bills. Obviously, it makes sense you want to trade back, get yourself a wide receiver, but the trade offer was so ridiculous. NFL league office, i.e. me, had to step in and veto it because I care somewhat about the quality of these videos, and trading from, as far back as the Bills all the way up here for like a third and a fourth or something crazy, that's just not going to happen. So he decided to sit tight and take Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Personally, I'm not a huge fan. I think there's better talent out there. I think there's bigger needs out there for the Bears. I suppose it depends on your big board. If you believe Mike McGlinchey is like a top 5 talent, then yeah, go ahead and take him. The Bears don't have phenomenal tackles. You can understand the logic of it because they are a run-heavy team, so offensive line is going to be important. You got a brand new quarterback, so offensive line and tackle in particular is important. So you can't really hate the pick. It's a little confusing, but I appreciate it at the very least because it's a different pick. It's not something you're going to see every day, so for that reason, I'm okay with it. Next up, the Cleveland Browns, and my man Jules is back on the clock, and he's got them taking Mason Rudolph, quarterback out of Oklahoma State. And as you can see, he's got the Browns going heavy on offense, right? You went and got Saquon Barkley, who's a game changer. He's real excited about his wide receivers, in particular Josh Gordon, and why wouldn't you be? And then you go get a quarterback that can, he's the field general. He's the one that coordinates all this stuff to kind of bring it all back together, because none of this matters if you don't have a quarterback. So based on the big boards and based on the logic, I love the pick. That said, I was watching some film on quarterbacks yesterday, and I am no longer in any way a Mason Rudolph fan. I have to do some more, and I got to talk to my guy about it, who is a coach, and he can kind of coach me up, I guess, a little bit on this guy. But everything I was watching about him reminded me 100% of Brett Hundley, and it just made me mad. He is Brett Hundley 2.0. It infuriated me, and nothing about watching him excited me. So we'll see if my opinion changes over time, but as of right now, I don't want Mason Rudolph on my team. I don't want him in the first round. I don't ever want to see him, ever. And I cannot believe that Draft Tech has him as the number 2 highest rated player in all of college football. That just blows my mind. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I was drafting for, and I immediately got a trade offer. I actually got it quite a long time ago. And I'll be honest, when I first heard it, I just rolled my eyes thinking, oh, here we go with another guy trying to be crazy, drafting way up from the back. There's no way I'm going to accept this trade offer. But the more I looked into it, I thought this makes a lot of sense. And then he made his pick, and the whole thing just kind of came full circle, and I'm thinking this is actually a lot of fun. So with that, my trade offer was from the New Orleans Saints, moving from 28. Here's what they offered. This year they're giving me, obviously their first, a second and a fourth. Next year I get their first round pick, and I get their third round pick. Now my thought in this particular trade is the Bucs have their quarterback, so we're not needy of these primary position type player. Well, I shouldn't say that. They don't need a quarterback necessarily, or at the very least, they're not going to get a new quarterback. We're trying to build a team, and you're telling me that in 2019 I'm going to get 2 first-round draft picks. I'm very excited about that. I get an additional second this year. I mean, this is the kind of thing you want to do if you're building a team. You get a ton of picks and a ton of very high-up picks. I thought the value was pretty solid. I did the math and everything, and it kind of lined up. I think it was actually even a little bit in my favor. So, in terms of value, I thought it was a very well thought out trade. Anyways, the Saints, who are GM'd by my man Cody, who has his own YouTube channel called The Blitz Report. Please be sure and check that out. He does a lot of very similar stuff to what I do, mock drafts and all that kind of stuff. So check him out. He had the Saints moving all the way up to get, obviously, a quarterback, Josh Rosen, out of Wyoming. Here is verbatim what he had to say. Drew Brees is set to be a free agent at the end of this year, but they need to re-sign him and let him finish out his career in New Orleans. Josh is insanely athletic with high football IQ, but his skill set is a little raw. He's hoping to play in the Senior Bowl since being out from a sprained shoulder joint in his throwing arm. He's an ideal candidate to be groomed behind Drew Brees. So really, this is just 2 very different teams with 2 very different strategies working out a deal. I mean, that's exactly what a trade is about, right? The Bucs are building around the quarterback. They need the picks. The Saints are kind of going all in right now, right? They've got their quarterback, but they also have this team that they need to be able to sustain, and they're going to do that by having another. So in other words, they want that smooth transition. They've got a lot of pieces right now. They got this defense that's firing on all cylinders. They've got Kamara. They've got a lot of pieces in place. They got that young wide receiver out there. But if their quarterback goes bye-bye, everything goes right in the trash. If you want to sustain the success, they finally have a defense for the first time in ever. We got to sustain this thing. So what do? We do exactly what he said. We get this quarterback. We have an opportunity. We're going to pull the trigger. We have the good team already. So we're going to pull the trigger on this quarterback. We're going to come back next year with Drew Brees. We're going to keep hammering away at this. And eventually, when it's time for Drew Brees to hang it up, we've got Josh Allen, who is an insanely big and strong and physical wide receiver who's been groomed behind one of the greatest to ever do it, Drew Brees, and he's going to be ready to go. And the Saints are going to be similar to what the Packers have done with Aaron Rodgers. Not saying he's going to be as good as Aaron Rodgers, but it's a similar transition where it's smooth, right? He's going to come in and he's going to be able to play with this team that's built around him. So I like the pick. It was a lot of fun to do, and I thought it was a good pick. Cardinals are back on the clock, as is my man Greg. Again, he's the one that wasn't available but gave me his big board, and I made the selection, and I picked Courtland Sutton, wide receiver out of SMU. Based on the players he gave me, it just made the most sense. The Cardinals absolutely need better help at wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald is still just a phenomenal wide receiver. He's amazing. Everybody loves the guy, and for good reason. But he's not going to be around forever, and the supporting cast around him, the other wide receivers, are not very good. The offense in general is a nightmare. They need an offensive line, they need tight end, they need wide receiver, they're going to need a new quarterback, they're going to need a little bit of everything except running back, who, eventually is going to come back, and that's going to be a solid situation. Paired with this defense, bottom line is they have the makings of a decent team, but they got to start picking up some of these pieces. So we got to hit on some offensive line throughout the draft. We've got a solid, probably the best wide receiver so far in this draft out of SMU. So it's going to be a slow building process. This is not a very good team. They took a massive step back. They need a lot of pieces, especially wide receiver and offensive line, and we're going to chip away at that right here with Courtland Sutton, wide receiver out of SMU. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers are back on the clock. The GM for that team is Brady Grustis. I think that's how you say it. He even spelled his name phonetically for me, and I'm still not able to figure it out. So I'm just going to call you Brady. So first of all, he's the one that made the trade with the New York Jets, and his thoughts on that were simply he did not feel there was a clear-cut number 2 outside of Saquon Barkley. Not overly impressed with Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he felt that the 49ers' biggest need was offensive line. So it just made sense to trade back, and beyond that, he felt like the Jets gave him way too much. The offer was extremely high, which doesn't necessarily mean the Jets did anything wrong. That's what you do if you're going to move up to number 3 and get a quarterback. You're going to pay a lot. But as far as Brady was concerned, the 49ers trading back just made a ton of sense, and they got a ton of great value for it. But they're going to pick Quentin Nelson, offensive guard, out of Notre Dame. As Brady pointed out, Notre Dame is famous for putting out great offensive linemen. They actually have 2 that are probably going to go in the first round this year, one that's already gone in this draft. He's largely considered the best offensive lineman in the draft. I've been talking about how much I appreciate not just him, but the position in general. So all around, I think it's a great pick. I think, again, you've got your quarterback that you need. You've got a lot of pieces, but you start building an offensive line is if you're going to get a team going outside of quarterback, I think building a solid offensive line is one of the most underrated aspects of just NFL football in general. Look at the Dallas Cowboys and how big of a step they took back because their offensive line has fallen apart, and that's not even talked about very much. I think the same thing with the Green Bay Packers right now. They really need to focus on offensive line. They had one of the most underrated offensive lines for a very long time when they had Sitton and Lang and all these guys together. That's starting to fall apart and corrode, and you're starting to see some deficiencies. So teams that don't have offensive line, I do think it's maybe one of the biggest priorities that they fix that. The 49ers need help, and they get maybe the best offensive lineman in this draft in Quentin Nelson. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins, and that again is me picking. And my second official pick, I have them taking Derwin James, safety out of Florida State. Definitely not the biggest need on the team. I know Redskins fans probably aren't going to like it, but once again, I think Derwin James is a special kind of player. I think it's a crime that he fell out of the top 10. As much as I said I can't necessarily say I love Minkah quite yet, I do love Derwin James. I had a comment from Fly Solo in my comment section saying he looks like a baby Sean Taylor, and I thought it was an awesome comment because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was actually thinking about bringing it up in this video, and sure enough, I get a comment about it saying he looks like Sean. That's exactly what I was thinking. Just this big. He just looks like kind of like Gronkowski at tight end. He just looks like a man above boys, like when you played football with your older brother and it just wasn't even fair. That's Derwin James. He's just bigger and stronger than everybody on the field. He's going to dominate against the run. He's not going to get bullied by tight ends. He can just erase these mismatches that you've got. He's got the speed and the strength to match up with just about anybody in the backfield. Defensive backfield, that is, obviously. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. Drafting for them is my man Jules once again. And he is going to take quarterback Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. As I've said, Baker's my top guy. So I can't hate the pick at all. Every time he gets picked, there's always comments going, "Oh, wow, that's shocking." I don't really get it. I mean, maybe there's some off-the-field incident that I'm not aware of, because I know he has some stuff, but everything I found is just kind of like, whatever, right? He got mad at the other sideline and grabbed his crotch or something. So what? He's not allowed to get fired up? Who cares? Man, I know you're supposed to be able to control yourself, but that to me is just being a competitor. I mean, it's not like he's found in the bathroom shooting up heroin or something. I mean, he's a competitor, and he yelled at the other team. I don't know. If he's as good as I believe he is, and I think he is in a very talented quarterback class, I think he is the best quarterback to come out. To have him sitting here at 12, it's just a no-brainer in my mind. If I'm a GM, unless there's some new information that somebody brings to me, I'm going to take Baker Mayfield all day. If I even need a quarterback just a little bit, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cincinnati Bengals are GM by Chris once again, and he's them taking offensive tackle Connor Williams out of Texas. And I think that makes sense. You can go a couple different avenues with it, but I really do think the biggest needs are, one, you either replace Andy Dalton, or two, you protect Andy Dalton. Right? We're either going to ride him out and we're going to protect him because we need some offensive line help. Actually, need a lot of offensive line help, or we're going to get a new guy. And really, what makes logical sense, not that you can pass on a top quarterback if he falls to you, but I don't know how much good it's going to do to go get a rookie quarterback and put him behind this offensive line and just have him get completely tore up and break his confidence, and that you just feel like that's going to spiral out of control. You got to get this offensive line thing figured out, then get a quarterback, sit him behind Dalton for a little bit. You know what I mean? Just kind of make it more of a smooth process, smooth transition for your young quarterback as much as you can. Throwing him behind this garbage line just doesn't make sense. So I really like the pick. I think the pick of Connor Williams, a lot of work needs to be done on an offensive tackle, and I think that's what we're going to tackle next after quarterback, me and my associate, who is yet to be named. But I really want to get these offensive linemen sorted out, because there's names just all over the place. And I don't know if they're first round, second round, seventh round, whatever. I know the names. I just want to be able to sort them out. Next up, we have the LA Chargers, and their GM by Phoenix, and he takes defensive tackle Daron Payne out of Alabama. I really like the pick. My first few mocks, I had the Chargers taking defensive tackle. It is a need for them. It's not maybe a primary need, but as I've said in my previous videos, that is sort of their one missing piece along that defense. I know you can go offense, and I know you want a quarterback, and I know all that stuff, but a lot of quarterbacks have already gone. You look at a guy like Daron Payne, who, by the way, there's two defensive tackles I think that are probably top 10 talents. To be able to pick up a top 10 talent defensive tackle at pick 14, which fills a need along your front seven, which is already just one of the better ones in the NFL, and you just kind of round out that whole thing. I keep saying front seven. I don't mean front seven. Your front four. You do need some linebacker help. But, Bosa and Ingram, and then you got Daron Payne right in the middle of that, with these cornerbacks that are just, it's so freaky how good they are. Casey Hayward, which makes me cry every time I say his name, the guy the Packers let leave, along with King and Williams, who are just killing it. You've got Adai in Boston at safety. This defense is just, it's so good. Just, you can't hate this pick. You get him in there, replace a guy like Mebane, who's just basically the broken link in the chain. He's just no good. Put him in there. You need him. It's a great value. It is a need. I love the pick. Daron Payne out of Alabama going to the Chargers. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who I am drafting for, and I had them taking Roquan Smith, inside linebacker out of Georgia. A little bit of chatter in the chat room, and there was some joking from our Eagles GM saying, I hope you guys don't let Roquan fall all the way back. That's just disrespectful. And at that time, I'm looking at the the Cowboys' needs, and I thought, you know what? Inside linebacker makes a lot of sense, so we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger on, I think it's a decent value. I guess it depends. I haven't done a lot of work on inside linebackers quite yet. but I've seen him valued around the 12-ish range, so I think at pick 15, it makes enough sense for me to pull the trigger. It is a need, it's a value, it's the whole thing. We've got a decent offense that we've got going. We need some more help on defense, inside linebacker, I think maybe in particular. So I'm good with that pick. Next up, we have the Oakland Raiders, who I also was picking for, and I went with the other defensive tackle, Christian Wilkins out of Clemson. Really anybody along the defense that you can put alongside the two defenders that you have that are any good over there. You need defensive help. I don't know. You need a lot of stuff. You need offensive line to protect that quarterback because that guy is just, he's getting beat up like his brother did. But having a guy again like Christian Wilkins, a top 10, some would even maybe say talent-wise a top 5, not that he would ever get drafted there because of all the quarterbacks and everything, but in terms of talent, maybe worth a top 5 pick. Christian Wilkins falling all the way to 16 is a crime, and an instant boost to this defense that just needs a lot of help. Next up, Phoenix is back on the clock with the Detroit Lions. He has them taking Arden Key, who is a outside linebacker. I believe he would be playing defensive end for the Lions. As I've mentioned before, he's extremely versatile, and I think he could play, although his build is more outside linebacker. I think he has the ability to move just about anywhere you need him. He'll be fine at defensive end for the Lions. Phoenix is saying that he thinks that Arden Key is the best pass rusher in the draft. I don't necessarily disagree. There is a guy that hasn't been drafted, which is a crime, and it was a big oversight by everybody. But Arden Key, other than that guy, is probably my favorite pass rusher in this draft. I don't think he's going to make it to 17. He's kind of fallen off. I think his stats have dipped, and there's talk about his effort and all that stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. I think he's a Myles Garrett type. I mean, he's sort of that same build, that same kind of athletic ability that Myles Garrett is. So is he going to go number 1? No. But is he going to fall out of the top 10? I'd be a little surprised. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills, who are GM'd by Tyler, and he has them taking wide receiver Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. His contention is they have a decent quarterback, but outside of Shady McCoy, what do they really have as far as weapons? And I would probably agree and say not very much. So getting another weapon for this quarterback, who I think they need to stick with, in my opinion. They keep wanting to get rid of this guy, and it's driving me nuts. Just stick with him. He's not that bad. Just build around him for a while and see what happens. Get him some weapons for once. So I agree with it. Tyler, obviously, as a GM, is doing what I wish that the Bills would actually do, which is stick with their quarterback and try to build around him. I don't necessarily think it's what they're going to do. I think they want him gone. I think they want to replace him. They just do not like him. But we'll see. In terms of his thought process, I agree 100%. Next up, we have my Green Bay Packers, and once again, I receive a trade offer, this time from GM Mike Lee, who is acting GM for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're offering me up a third and a fourth, and I think based on the picks that are available and in my mind, there's quite a few people that I like, only because it was one giant oversight on my part of somebody that's still available. Which, by the way, well, I'll get to that later. But I liked the picks that were available. I was thinking there's a lot of corners, there's a lot of all this different stuff. Decent amount of pass rushers. So I'm fine moving back. A third and a fourth is important. I think Ted Thompson does good in middle rounds. I think that third round pick would give us 3/3 and maybe 2 to 3/4. I'm not really sure. But I didn't hate it, and I thought it made sense. But the Jaguars, they're going to move up, and they're going to obviously grab a quarterback, Clayton Thorson, out of Northwestern. And what he had to say is basically he had a panic attack when he saw a run on quarterbacks, and I think that is the Jacksonville Jaguars' worst nightmare is a run on quarterbacks. I think they need and they desperately want a quarterback, and the worst case scenario is to see 3, 4, 5 of them just fall off the board in the top 10. But in this case, they got a guy that they really like. As he said, they have a bunch of weapons, with the Allens and Fournette and all this stuff, and they just need to get a quarterback. They really like Clayton Thorson. And I agree, I watched a little bit. There isn't much to watch on him, but the little bit that I watched, I liked. So I guess if the Jaguars believe in him, there's no price too high. They're ready to go. They just need a quarterback. If they think they found their guy, it doesn't matter what it costs. Just go get him. Next up, we have Phoenix back on the clock for the Atlanta Falcons, and he made us all look stupid. He drafted Bradley Chubb, defensive end out of NC State, and there was a collective groan because nobody realized he fell that far, which, by the way, the biggest reason stuff like this happens is because we need 32 guys in the draft. When you're trying to go back and forth between different teams and the different needs that they have, you just kind of lose sight of everything. It's too much work to do to keep everything in line, especially when you're doing a semi-live draft. But if we got 32 guys, you build your own big board, you have your list, and this is never going to happen. Bradley Chubb will never fall if we have 32 guys drafting. But either way, obviously it's a great pick, and I don't even really need to explain why it's a good pick. But to put it succinctly, he was bragging about Takaris McKinley and Bradley Chubb terrorizing quarterbacks for the remainder of the draft. So there you have it. That's why he made the pick. Great pick. Big oversight on our part. So what we actually decided as GMs is that a photo came out of him wearing a bong mask, and that's why he fell. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills, and their GM is Tyler. He has them taking Will Hernandez, guard out of UTEP. A real good pick, guy that is sort of that end of the first and early second conversation. Some of the people think that he is maybe the best guard in the draft. He might pop up into the first. He may rise up above Quentin Nelson before this thing is all said and done. The Bills just went and got Calvin Ridley. Tyler once again brought up Shady McCoy being basically their primary weapon on this team. Clearly he wants him to be the feature back on this team. He's going to get a guard to help him out as well as helping Tyrod Taylor out. So hopefully for the sake of the Buffalo Bills, now they can kind of spread out a little bit. They got a better offensive guard. They can kind of get this run game going. They can use their wide receivers. You know, I mean, it just creates that problem for defenses trying to stop this team, right? What are you going to do? You're going to stack the box? Because if Shady can run on you with a stack box, and a guard like Will Hernandez is going to help that, you're doomed as it is. You're already done. You're stacking the box. They can run and pass on you, or you play the pass and Shady McCoy just tears you up all day. Which who's going to play the pass against against the Buffalo Bills? But a very good pick, Will Hernandez to the Buffalo Bills. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and Cody from the Blitz Report is back on the clock. He has them taking Orlando Brown, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. The Ravens need a lot of offensive help, just flat out. So pretty much any pick that is a good value for the offense is a good pick for the Ravens. Quarterback would be nice, but there's not a lot of good available value. Running back, same situation. Wide receiver, you could probably go that route, but again, as I've said, offensive line is extremely important. If your entire offense is not doing well, I think the best thing you can do is help out your offensive line, because that helps out everything, and they don't have a great offensive line. It's not the worst, but it's not great. So if Orlando Brown is top of your board, absolutely, by all means, take him off. Orlando Brown, offensive tackle, Oklahoma. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and on the clock, we have GM Alex Matthews, who was in our last mock draft, as were a few of these guys. But Alex was patiently waiting for his picks to come around. He wanted Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown went one pick before him, but he's got a guy that's just as good. He's going Trey Adams, offensive tackle, out of Washington. Really don't even need to explain this one to you. Seattle Seahawks need offensive line help. If you think Trey Adams is the man, which Alex clearly does, go ahead and get him. Next up, we have Mike Lee picking for the Carolina Panthers, and he went with Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. Bottom line from this GM, your best pass rusher is 37 years old. Not good enough. So for the short term, as long as Peppers is still around, you've got a pretty solid duo in Ferrell and Peppers, assuming everybody stays healthy, which somehow Julius never seems to get hurt. But in the long term, you're building depth, and you're building for the future. Because once Julius goes down, if you don't have a pass rusher, you don't have a pass rush. So a good pick for the Panthers there. Next up, the Packers are back on the clock, and I have them taking outside linebacker Harold Landry out of Boston College. Draft Tech, who has him drafted, they have him listed as a top 5 talent. They also have Mason Rudolph as a top 2 talent, so I don't know how much I trust them anymore. However, Harold Landry, considered a top 5, one of the better guys, clearly an outside linebacker based on his size and speed and all this stuff. I think he is a disruptive pass rusher, and as far as I can tell, probably the best available value depending on which board you're looking at. So I went ahead and had the Packers pull the trigger on a pass rusher, Harold Landry out of Boston College. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans, and Cody from the Blitz Report is back up, and he has them taking Malik Jefferson, inside linebacker out of Texans. God, it is early. Out of Texas. His primary contention with Malik Jefferson and why he's a good fit for the Titans is that the Titans are getting blown up by tight ends. Malik Jefferson has phenomenal speed and is maybe the best coverage guy at inside linebacker in the entire draft class. So he's going to give a lot of speed to this defense. He's going to help out with those matchups with tight ends, as well as being able to go sideline to sideline against the run and all this different stuff. So a very good pick. Malik Jefferson, a guy that I still really like. I never really liked him when they were talking about him as a top 5 talent, but if we're talking end of the first round, I'm starting to like Malik Jefferson a lot more. Next up, we have the LA Rams. Their GM is once again my man Jules, and he's taking Denzel Ward, cornerback out of Ohio State. Cornerback is another thing I need to dig into because there's a lot of names, and who's first and who's last is just all over the board. My personal, last year was a lot more fun looking at corners because it was easy to grab guys and say, I love this guy. This year it's a little more subtle. You don't have those elite cornerback prospects, so you gotta really know what you're looking for, trying to find the nuance. But I do like Denzel Ward. I think end of the first round, he's still a great value. In terms of need, there's no problem here whatsoever. I've been consistently putting pass rusher, but they need inside linebacker, they need pass rusher, and yeah, they need a corner. So I'm good with the pick if he's your best available value, and I don't think there are really any real good pass rushers left here. Corners have not gone off the board, so yeah, absolutely. I'm fine with a Denzel Ward out of Ohio State. Next up, the Bucs are back on the clock, who I am drafting for, and I have them taking Tavares McFadden, cornerback out of Florida State. Again, the order I don't know, but he's a good value at the end of the first round. The Bucs need a lot of everything. They definitely need offensive line, but those guys have been depleted. They could use a defensive end, but they've been pretty well depleted. Safeties aren't great. Maybe wide receiver, but I think best value and need is going to be cornerback in this spot, so that's why I went with Tavares McFadden out of Florida State. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I am also drafting for. It's going to be a whole lot of me from here on out, and I have them taking safety out of Alabama, Ronnie Harrison. I know a lot of people want the Steelers, the Steelers to draft a quarterback. I don't know. I know Ben is old, but he's a solid football player. I mean, man, you need safety, you need inside line. You need outside linebacker, you need corner, you need guard, you need tackle, you need a center, you need a tight end, you need wide receiver, you need all this stuff, and you're going to use your first round draft pick on a quarterback. I just ride it out, man. I know he's getting old, so what? A lot of quarterbacks are getting old and still playing high, at a high level. Just stick with him. Give him another contract extension. See how far you can ride this thing out. So again, they need a lot of things. Not a lot of tackles, not a lot of guards. There's no centers, defensive tackle, pass rusher, inside line, all this stuff. Basically, maybe you could go another corner, but safety is also a need. Ronnie Harrison is sort of in that end of the first, beginning of the second conversation, so I decided to pull the trigger on Mr. Ronnie Harrison, safety out of Alabama. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who are GM by Alex Matthews, and he has them taking wide receiver Christian Kirk out of Texas A&M. His reasoning? Torrey Smith is old, and our receiving core is not good. Thank you for saying that. I keep saying every time I have the Eagles pick a wide receiver, I get trashed. But he said that their wide receivers got exposed by Seattle, which is a nice way of saying we thought that they were good. Turns out we were wrong. They're not very good. I thank you for finally coming around to what I've been saying for a while now. You guys don't have very good wide receivers. You need better wide receivers. Getting a guy like Christian Kirk, he's going to help on special teams. He's going to help in the slot. He can play outside. Very talented. You can put him in the backfield. You can do a lot of stuff with this guy. He is a weapon like nobody else in this class. Well, at least at wide receiver. If you have a creative enough offensive coordinator, you can make this guy do a lot of special things. And you just need a wide receiver. You've got a tight end as your primary wide receiver, and I don't mean to trash him. He's a great tight end, but that's a little ridiculous. Get your quarterback some more weapons. I love the pick. Christian Kirk is a phenomenal pick. As far as fit, I don't know. I don't know the Eagles well enough, but I'll assume it's a good fit as well. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and I have them taking offensive tackle Brian O'Neill. Brian O'Neill is basically never talked about anywhere. But if you look at Draft Tech, he is, I think, the second highest rated offensive tackle. So I want to at least give them enough credit to say that I don't want him to fall out of the first round. The Vikings need, similar to the Seahawks, they need offensive line help. It's still a top priority. They have a very good team pretty much everywhere else, but the offensive line needs to be fixed. So Brian O'Neill, offensive tackle out of Pitt. Finally, the New England Patriots, who have usurped the Eagles. And again, this is not who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. This is just the draft if it were to end today. So the Patriots back on top where they never seem to want to leave. And I have them taking inside linebacker Micah Kiser out of Virginia. The Patriots have had them taking defensive tackle. I get trashed for that. Bottom line, the run defense is not very good. Maybe it's getting better. I haven't checked the stats since I've been saying this. I've been saying this for several weeks now. For all I know, they have now the top run defensive in the NFL. But their defense in general has not been great. Their run defense especially. You don't want a defensive tackle. Fine, I'll give you an inside linebacker. And I know the Patriots fans are proud people, but can you at least acknowledge to me that your inside linebackers, your linebackers are complete garbage? Inside, outside, your linebackers are just trash. Can we just agree to that? They're not good. Not even a little bit. Hopefully I can get a little bit of love from Patriots fans this time around. But that's it, folks. This is one of the quick... I felt like I was rambling forever, but this is going to be a quick one. We're going to wrap this up a little bit early. Once again, join the group. Hit me up on Twitter. Any and all donations would be appreciated. We got a lot of big stuff coming. We got some prospect previews. I want to start doing some live drafts. That's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to require some help. So please, any donations you can give, link is in the description. Otherwise, I will be back for another one very soon. So stay tuned. Take care.